Back with another review, and wanted to go back and redo this review here. I felt the first time around I could have added a little bit more thought, discussion, information, but today talking about and reviewing 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a great movie. And there's a couple of things to mention here before I get into the review. One, there's not a whole lot that I'm going to add to the praise and the high marks. This is not going to be some 40-minute deep dive. And two, when it comes to this film, for some people who have seen it, trying to describe the film, they're like, what is the film about again? What is it exactly about? And I do get that. Because it's not going to be for everybody. I understand this is not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. It's more of a, quiet film. There's not a lot of dialogue. It's about, Stanley Kubrick's vision and the visual spectacle, and you throw in the music in here, compared to a lot of films now where there is a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of beats, a lot of characters. Again, here it's more of a quiet film. It's more of a subtle film. It's about the visual spectacle, and it's about the music, what Stanley Kubrick was able to pull off here. And yeah, it's a great experience. It's a film that I've seen before, and rewatching it again, it's a great experience. And it's definitely a film that's one of a kind, because there's not a lot of films like this where you're in awe of, what Stanley Kubrick was able to pull off on a visual front, and just the shots of outer space. And easily, it looks like a film that could have came out in the late 70s. This is a film that came out in 1968. I'm like, it's insane. I mean, this is a year before the moon landing. So, of course, there's some people out there that believe, oh, Stanley Kubrick had a hand in the moon landing, that he used unused footage from this movie in the moon landing. I don't believe all that, but some people do. And there's been stories before where when the film came out, there was people who walked out on it, like Rock Hudson, because he didn't get the film. So again, it's a film that's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it's still a great movie. And when I talk about the sequel, 2010, I actually preferred that more. I mean, I felt, for me, there was a little bit more meat on the bone when it comes to the sequel, but this is still a great movie that I give the praise and the high marks. But getting into the film itself, you have this mysterious monolith that lands on Earth. And of course, the film opens up with some great music here. Then you see the apes, or the ape men. They come into contact with this monolith, and soon after that, they start to learn how to kill and evolve. And then you go into the future, you have these astronauts. They're sent on this mission to find the origins of this mysterious object, this monolith that's buried in the lunar surface. And so, like I said, they're sent on this mission to find out what is this about. You have the main character, Dave, who is played by Keir Dullea. Dave. And you also have this other character and some other astronauts. And you have this supercomputer, HAL 9000. And I love the voice of HAL 9000. I forgot who did the voice. But again, the supercomputer is on the ship, and you kind of find out a little bit more about HAL 9000, that he knows more. Like, there's more information there, and it's not like at some point he starts to malfunction because there's some secrets happening where, again, he starts to malfunction, and a couple of the main characters are talking about, taking over. So you have a scene where they're having this conversation about trying to override HAL 9000 and take control of the ship, but HAL 9000 is able to read their lips and sort of get wind of what they're doing and what they're planning. And that's when things sort of go south a little bit on this mission. And again, you find out that it's kind of a secret there, that there's more to the mission that a couple of our characters didn't know, and then it becomes this kind of tension between man and machine, on this journey. But I know I didn't do the best at describing the plot here. I'm kind of all over the place. But, again, this is a great movie. It's it's an achievement. I mean, what can you talk about here? I mean, you can talk about the music, which is beautiful. I love the music. I forgot. I should have written down the person who did the music with this film, but again, it's beautiful, beautiful music here that's incorporated into the film. And Stanley Kubrick, when it comes to Stanley Kubrick, I like The Shining. I like Full Metal Jacket. Have I seen every Stanley Kubrick film? No, but I thought he did a great job with this film and really executing well on the visuals and his visual direction. And it's definitely unique, when you compare it to a lot of films now that everything is so grand and, green screen, out the ass, and, gigantic budgets and, big music and a lot of, again, dialogue heavy films. But, with this, it's more about quiet moments. And again, it's not a lot of dialogue, but I thought it worked well with the film because you're sort of taken back by the awe and wonder of the film and what Stanley Kubrick did with this movie that really is ahead of its time a little bit when you think about. Again, it came out in 1968, and I'm like, easily it looks like a film that could have came out a decade later. And just some of the ideas, I mean, you got the scene where the Haywood character, is asleep on this flight, and his pen is floating in the aisles, and the woman is wearing these grip shoes because of the gravity. And I'm like, that's a pretty cool concept, the idea of the grip shoes, and just a lot of cool shots where the use of the grip shoes. And there's a couple of scenes where she would walk and she's kind of walking upside down, so I like that. And later on you see one of our main characters, he's exercising in the ship, and I like the circular shot where he's running with the ship. I thought, again, Stanley Kubrick did a great job there. I have to applaud Stanley Kubrick on that. And it's just some of the ideas like that, it's so unique. And I was trying to think of another word I can use, unique, but it's just, again, the idea of the vision of the future from back in 1968, I'm like, they did a pretty damn good job. I mean, it's just like, how did they think about this in 1968? Just some of these ideas and concepts. How were they able to think about and come up with these ideas back then? But I thought it was well executed. And, the HAL 9000, again, I like the voice of HAL. I forgot who did the voice. And I want to get the name right. Yeah, Douglas Rain. Douglas Rain, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but I know one of the main actors, Keir Dullea, is still around, and he would actually come back for the sequel for a little bit. Um, and then the Dr. Haywood Floyd character would actually be recast. Roy Scheider would play that character because that takes place 9 years later after the events of the first film. But also, too, something that I just thought about, I really liked the sort of enigma, mysterious aspect to the monolith. You don't know what it is, and they don't explain. Like nowadays, when you have a film like this, let's say if this film came out today, they would try to over-explain it and, really go into the origins of the monolith, and, then it turns out it's an alien, or, there's more to it. There's I don't know, it just seems like now, if you made this film, they would just try to over-explain it, overdo it, and it wouldn't be as unique, because a lot of films are really the same. But again, you would have more dialogue, and it would just be overdone, over-explained. But I liked this sort of mysterious aspect to the monolith, that you don't know what it is, but it's creepy in a way because there's some moments of the music where it gets a little creepy and a little bit dark. And I really enjoyed that. And then later on, there's a scene where the main character sees himself in the future. And before that, there's just like very trippy scenes. And I thought the use of the colors and these different patterns, again, were very trippy. And I thought it was done well. And then you talk about, when eventually the Star Child, that scene, you could talk about that. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a film that there's not going to be too much that I'll add to. There's not going to be too much that I'm going to add to the praise here, because it gets the praise and it gets the high marks. It's a film that, do I rewatch a lot? No. But it's a great film that I respect, that it's an achievement, that it's well directed, well executed, ahead of its time. Stanley Kubrick, the way he executed on certain shots, and the shots of outer space, and the ideas and the concepts throughout the film. The music is beautiful. It's a very unique film, and there's not a lot of films like this. And while it's not going to be a film that, okay, let me pop in this film, it's not going to be one that I'm going to watch a lot. And the pacing doesn't bother me. It's a 2 hour and 40, so 2 hours and 25 minutes, around there. The pacing never bothered me because I was, invested into this film. I was invested in this journey and the mysterious origins of the monolith, and, the back and forth between our main character and HAL 9000, where HAL 9000 is malfunctioning, and you find out there's more to the mission here, that there's more going on to HAL 9000 that he's letting on, and the main characters are sort of in this, I don't know if you would say battle, but, trying to, take control of the situation. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can add here, but as far as features on the Blu-ray, you do have a commentary by Keir Dullea and Gary Lockwood. You have a Channel 4 documentary, The Making of, 4 insightful featurettes, Vision of a Future Past, The Prophecy of 2001, A Look Behind the Future, What Is Out There, Effects and Early Conceptual Artwork, audio-only bonus, a 1966 Kubrick interview conducted by Jeremy Bernstein. So you do have some good features on this Blu-ray, and it looks great on Blu-ray. The quality, is great. It looked great. But yeah, I mean, so if you haven't seen the film, I do recommend it. I do recommend checking it out. Again, it's not going to be for everybody, but it's a very well done film. And while I prefer the sequel more, 2010, I prefer the characters more in that. I thought, for me that was more of an enjoyable, again, a little bit more meat on the bone, and they explain a little bit more. But I still give this film its praise, and I still enjoy this film. I still think it's a great movie. So, yeah. 2001 Space Odyssey. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. So, yeah. 2001. Hope you enjoyed this review, and stay tuned for my review of 2010, the year we made contact. But thank you for watching, and have a good day.